In here is a new Christopher Ward C60. Some people have already said that this could be the Tudor Pelagos Killer, which is a crazy title. Let's check it out. Let's start off with the specs on this so we can get an idea of what we are looking at. This is a 41mm wide titanium case. This is grade 2 titanium. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference in titaniums in a second. The thickness of the case is one of its shining features because it's only 10.85mm thick. Lug to lug is 47.9mm. The lug width is 22mm, and the bezel is a unidirectional 120 click dive bezel. It's a ceramic bezel and it is also loomed, and this thing has 300 meters of water resistance, and as you can see on the side of the case, it has a helium escape valve as well. Now the whole case is brushed titanium, but it does have these chamfered edges on the top side of the case, but also on the underside of the case and the edges of the bracelet, which is highly polished. Christopher Ward is one of those brands where you get a huge amount of watch for your money, and this is continuing in that vein. The finishing is really pretty impressive on this thing. Christopher Ward don't hide that they use Sleater movements, unlike many brands, and this is powered by the SW300. It has 25 joules, 56 hour power reserve, vibrates at 28,800 vibrations per hour, and is accurate from -4 to +6 seconds a day. This is the COSC certified version of the Sleater SW300. I threw this on my time grapher for a really rough idea of what the movement was actually doing, and was performing well above the advertised accuracy. Typically watch brands of this price range use the SW200. The SW300 is better because it's a millimeter thinner. This means the whole case can be thinner, and because it's a millimeter thinner, that means that the movement itself is ever so slightly more delicate. To improve the shock resistance of the movement, they actually had to improve the shock absorbers of the movement itself. Therefore, this movement is not only thinner, but it's more resistant to shock as well. This is the watch compared to another Christopher Ward, which has the SW200 in, and you can see how thick that case has to be, despite the fact that this has over 3 times the water resistance. And this is also the case compared to my Omega Seamaster, which has the same water resistance. This case is just really thin, and it's really cool that they managed to do this for an under £2,000 watch. There's a couple of different colorways with this watch. You can get it on a strap or on a bracelet. On a strap, it costs £1,650. On the bracelet, it costs £1,985. A fair chunk of money for Christopher Ward because they're typically lower than that. But for the specification of watch, it's hard to criticize that price. And it is less than half of a Tudor Pelagos. Let's talk quickly about grade 2 versus grade 5 titanium, because a lot of people criticize when brands use grade 2. The reality is that grade 2 titanium is just cheaper to work with. It's cheaper to buy as a material, but it's also cheaper to machine. Grade 2 is pure titanium, and so it's ever so slightly softer than grade 5 titanium. Grade 5 titanium is an alloy, so it's mixed with other metals, which improves its scratch resistance, and it also makes it a stronger material. Because it's stronger, it is then, of course, harder to machine. So typically, you find grade 2 titanium on more affordable watches and grade 5 titanium on higher end watches. I feel like the real world benefit of grade 5 titanium is that it is just stronger and more scratch resistant, but the real world benefit of grade 2 titanium is that it really looks like titanium. It's got that sexy, dark, gunmetal look to it. This little dot on the side is a helium escape valve. Lots of people criticize helium escape valves because they can be quite unsightly. If you think about it on the Seamaster, it's got this big onion looking thing. On this, it's a tiny little dot. I do like its presence because it breaks down that side of the case. It makes it just a touch more interesting to look at. The purpose of a helium escape valve is to protect the watch after divers have done a deep dive. When you go down on a deep dive, helium will be pushed into the case of the watch, but then it will get stuck there. And so as you go up, as you ascend from your dive and the pressure is reduced around the watch, the helium is going to try to get out. Often the easiest way for it to get out, it pops the crystal off. So by having a helium escape valve, once the pressure is reduced around the watch, the helium will expand and then push that little escape valve out, reducing all the pressure inside the watch. But again, functionality wise, 99% of the people who own any watch that has a helium escape valve, I've got one on my Seamaster. I don't even know if you have to unscrew it or if it just pops out. Oh no, you do unscrew it. Does it pop out even? I don't even know how to use it. The bracelet on this thing I think is really very nice. It's very simple. It's very reminiscent of the Rolex Oyster bracelet, which is one of my favorite bracelets. The clasp has a very useful bracelet extension system, just with this little push button. It's basically half a link that it extends by. It also has a very good quick release mechanism inside. It's a little fiddly, but it works. One of the big benefits of a quick release bracelet is it just makes it so simple for you to add a sexy nylon strap like this thing that we sell over at barkandjack.com. This is our grey ribbed nylon strap. And we're actually doing an offer where you get 10% off if you buy more than one strap, and that's not just on our nylon straps. You can do it on leather straps as well. Jump over to barkandjack.com and check out the straps that we've got, and mugs. Let's talk about the pros and cons before we talk about this being a Pelagos Killer or not. Big pros, obviously the value for money. It's less than £2,000, which is an insane amount of watch for that money. Grade 2 titanium, well finished, brushed and polished edges. The fact that this is a dive watch that is under 11 millimeters thick, that is really so impressive. You've got the ceramic bezel, you've got these really sexy blocked lume markers, 300 meters of water resistance, and a COSC certified movement. That is a lot of watch for your money, regardless of whether you like the design or not. Now for the cons. The clasp, I do feel like it is quite long. It's very noticeable on my 6.5-inch wrist. It's not an uncomfortable clasp, it's just noticeably large. The dial, I was a bit disappointed with the dial. It's executed well from a finishing point of view. I love the fact it's matte. I love these massive chunks of lume. When I saw the renders of this watch, the dial looked like it was a flat color throughout, just one consistent color. When I got the watch in hand, it's actually a burst dial. It starts off at dark gray on the outside and then fades into lighter gray in the middle. I've never been a fan of gradient dials. This is exactly my same criticism around the Pelagos 39. Just give me a flat color. I'd say that's probably my biggest criticism. I could live with the clasp, but the dial, I want just flat. So is this a Pelagos Killer? No, I don't think this is. They're in two different categories. The Pelagos is over twice the price of this watch. I feel like this watch lacks just the sheer purposefulness, the sheer toolness, the beastliness that the Pelagos has. But that doesn't take away from this watch, I don't think. It is half the price. If your budget doesn't stretch over £4,000 that the Pelagos is, then this absolutely is going to tick the box for you. It's hard to deny that this is a good looking watch, but also an amazing value for money. Christopher Wood haven't paid me to make this video, and to kind of prove that point, I'm going to mention 3 alternatives. The first would be the Oris Aquis, the 41.5mm version. It has a water resistance of 300 meters. It's made of stainless steel, and that's powered by the SW200 movement, so the slightly thicker movement. That costs £2,200. Next up from that, which is a bit more of a beastly watch, the Zin U212. It's a lot larger at 47mm. It costs £2,900, which is a considerable chunk more than this watch. However, that thing is made from tegimented steel. That steel is remarkably strong. I've got hands on with it, and I tried to scratch it with a screwdriver. I couldn't do anything. So it's a really interesting tool watch. The next one would be the Tag Heuer Accurator GMT. This is slightly larger at 43mm. It's powered by the same movement that this has. It does have the GMT function and has 300 meters water resistance, and that costs £3,150. On paper, this is a really hard watch to beat. Grade 2 titanium, well finished, COSC certified movement watch that's only 10mm thick. It's an impressive piece. What do you guys think? This is a brand new watch from Christopher Ward, so it'd be interesting to see what you guys think of this. Guys, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like this style of video, then hit the subscribe button down there and that little bell icon to get notifications when I drop a new video. Let me know in the comments what you think of this watch, and if you want to check out the watch straps and watch accessories that we sell over at Bark and Jack, jump over to barkandjack.com. I'll see you very soon. Take care.